We are charting the higher octave. On the show again, I have my friend Michelle Poppler, who is an astrologer and friend, and we are going to talk about astrology and music. Like we did the last time, we did the Diana Ross's song. So this is something we've been wanting to do for a while now, but we keep putting it on hold. But this is the first band that we're talking about that I did an interview with maybe a month ago called SU, SU, and that stands for Sarah and Ursa. They're a band from Montreal, Canada, ethereal duo. At the time of the interview, they released their duo single called The Web 2.0, Arachnid. If you want to catch that interview, it's on my YouTube channel with Sue. So they gave me the okay to do their music chart, their astrology chart, their synastry chart, and their band formation, the birth of their music. So here we are. So Michelle, thank you for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you with your sharing your gift of astrology and wisdom. And just to mention, you're also on akashic astrology, right? Maybe you can talk a
Yes.
little bit about that. We're gonna do that also. You're gonna share.
So, Cosmic astrology, I call it that because when I began my journey of um, unlocking people's birth data, what began to happen was uh, through my studies, there are techniques that will indicate past lives and future purpose. So, what I discovered as I was learning that the charts will talk to me and they will tell me things about where people have been in their past lives. Sometimes it'll come through like actual little visuals, like I'll see people in their old costumes, like in their old lives, like doing stuff. And I'm like, wow. So, and then I would, you know, bring this information forward in reading, saying, well, you might have been a pirate. And they're like, well, I used to have dreams about being a pirate. And I'm like, well, there you go. You were a pirate. It's right here in your chart.
Yeah.
Like, you have planets in Scorpio. So, like, basically, this is a modality that will kind of it validates pretty much what most spiritually inclined people already feel and know to be true in their hearts,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
sometimes you just need a little bit of external validation, and
And,
that's what astrology does for us.
and of course we see it in the birth chart too, right? The connection of
Mhm.
between two people called synastry.
Yeah.
So these two girls, they are a band and they're called Sue. And I figured we're gonna talk about each one. So there's two of them. I'm gonna talk about Sarah's chart briefly, and then you're gonna talk about Ursula's chart, right?
Exactly. Just starting my screen share here. There we go.
So I'm
So
gonna I'm
there's Sue.
okay. There's Sue, and that's so Sarah's the one on the right, and Ursula is the one with the blonde hair. So the reason I'm gonna do Sarah's chart is because I have a connection to Sarah, being that I'm a Sagittarius sun, just like her. Okay, so her if you look at her chart there, she has a sun in Sagittarius, very interesting degree, which is 0 degree, which is a very called a critical degree.
Yes,
Very
0 degree.
which embodies the strong feature of the Sagittarius quality for her. Adventurous, optimistic, freedom seeker, a risk taker, and so much more the Sagittarius archetype is. And that's a very interesting thing. But she also has her moon is in Leo. Okay. So the moon in Leo, she's got her ascendant in Gemini, which is also her chart ruler is Mercury. Find the chart ruler by the ascendant, which is the first house, which is in Gemini.
Oh, he's right over here.
And she's got
Boom.
So her ascendant in Gemini, the sign of Gemini, of course, is also the rising sign, which is the first house. That was the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at exactly, I think, it's 5 degrees. The ascendant is the physical appearance of the individual, well, how they look like, how they react to the world. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury represents the intellect, communication, curiosity. That's Gemini. So she comes across as expressive, curious, versatile, youthful, playful, and she really is. I mean, from what I know of her, what I say is that degree of I think the degree of that is it 5 degrees? Uh,
Yes, it is
five.
5 degrees.
That's a very early part of the sign of Gemini, which is strong in its expression in as being a Gemini.
Hmm.
She's got her moon in Leo, which the moon represents your emotions, your inner world. Uh, her emotions are strong, being that she's a Leo. She may need to express that outwardly more because she's a Leo. She craves a
Yeah,
Leo. They're the performer, so she craves recognition and she has a warm, generous heart like a Leo. Leo rules the heart. She presents that leadership quality as well, that leadership energy that she has. And the other thing that's interesting about her chart is she's got let's see here, 1 second here. I have a well, I could talk about that later, but she does have what's called a stellium, which is a bunch of planets in one house, which is all close together. She's got a stellium in um, Scorpio, I believe. Is that right?
oh yeah.
She's got a stellium in Scorpio, which is the dark side of her, of who she is. You know that their music is beautiful and
Scorpio.
passionate and deep. So she's got a stellium in the sixth house. She has Mercury there, Venus, Pluto, and Vertex. The Vertex, which is a very significant point in the chart. Uh,
That's also a 0 degrees, isn't it?
0 degrees, which is a very fated
Mm.
point in astrology. She probably meets a lot of karmic. Uh, her 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 life is very karmic and destined. Probably has a lot of intense relationships, being that is all in that is conjunct, which means that it's close to Pluto and Venus and Mercury. Pluto in Scorpio. Okay, which is really interesting. And then she's got a conjunction to Venus and Scorpio. She's got Venus and Scorpio, just like I do. Just like very,
Hmm.
very deep, very intense. Very passionate. And this is all in the sixth house of work. Scorpio is in the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of work and health. And that's where she has that. And she also has a stellium, which is another. She has it's two stellium, and the other one is in Sagittarius, of course, which is her sun. And of course, having a sun in Sagittarius makes her adventurous, outgoing, creative.
Sorry.
Um, she's got a 0 degree sun in Sagittarius as well. Saturn is there as well, and Uranus, which is all in the seventh house. So she probably meets a lot of the seventh house is a one-on-one connection with other people. That could be a teacher. She probably does meet a lot of people that teach her, and that they teach each other in that regard. Saturn being there, it does confirm that as well, that it's somebody that um maybe an older person. She probably knows a lot of interesting Uranian type of people. Very.
Collaborating with elder goths.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
People that
And
very.
Uranus, is the were you saying about interesting relationship?
Yeah, because you got Uranus in seventh house. The seventh house,
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
What's interesting about her chart though? She's got Saturn and Uranus together in I mean, there's it's not a close conjunction, but it's in the same house. Saturn is stability, and Uranus is not. So that's a really interesting thing to have that. I wonder how she feels. She
And
feels
yeah, she's like, well, she receives best from, her teachers and innovation and from the galactic. She's committed to the galactic, uh, energies because
yeah.
the galactic center of the Milky Way galaxy sits in Sagittarius. And that's the massive black hole that pulls everything together and emits the radiation that is all the knowledge that we know. I mean, that's my hypothesis anyway. So, and so she's got Juno, the asteroid of
Yeah,
commitment.
Juno. Yeah, and that's interesting. Juno and Uranus are in the
Yeah.
same house.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. So
that's
she's
another thing. There's a lot
committed
of
to the Sagittarius thing. Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of what do you call that? Opposing each other, right?
Hmm.
Saturn, Juno, Uranus, Saturn.
I pulled up another asteroid for you. The asteroid Nocturna.
What
And
is that?
guess where it's conjunct?
Saturna is in the what house?
It's in the eighth house, conjunct Neptune. And
Oh,
look at transiting Nocturna. Actually, I'm going to just zoom in here so we can really.
yeah, that's interesting. There's a Nocturna asteroid.
Yeah, there's a Nocturna asteroid. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put that on there. But I'm going to say, you know, I turned it on, and the date of their last album release date was February 12th of 2025 on a new moon. And this was that date. And look at where the transiting transiting nocturna happened to be.
Oh, really? Right
Right?
on the in the east.
Yeah, it's right on the yeah, it's right there.
It's really funny.
You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
Do
right.
you
It's
believe in
actually,
fate?
so the transit nocturna is on the same. It's almost
Yeah,
close to the natal
it's
nocturna.
it's it's like right on it. It's
Oh,
like it's
wow.
yeah, to her birth date placement of the asteroid Nocturna and Neptune, which she has Neptune and the asteroid Nocturna conjunct in the eighth house at 4 degrees, belong. And then like transiting Nocturna on February 12th, 2025, happens to be boom, right there, circled back around.
That's really
Like,
interesting.
so these are moving bodies. And I don't know if I can make that clear. There's an asteroid belt in our solar system, has thousands of asteroids in it, and they big chunks of rock because it probably was a planet that exploded at some point. So our lovely astronomers go through and they give them names. And then our astrologers go, ooh, new asteroids. And they put them in the computer programs so that we can track them in the birth charts and see what happens.
Mhm.
And so this asteroid sits in the asteroid belt and happens to be called Nocturna. And I have a few other asteroids that I put on here as well that are like the muses. So like Apollo and a few
Mhm.
other Greek archetypes that represent music or muses.
Yeah. And Neptune being up there and next to me, it's like we were talking about music. So that
Yeah, Neptune rules
Neptune
music.
Neptune rules
Yeah,
music, right?
yeah. No, isn't that cool? And in the eighth house, so like as far as like patrons, right? So like you heard their music, and you're like, I'm gonna interview them. And then you interviewed them and you're like, wow, they're really cool. Let's look at their astrology. And now we're looking at like, well, that's because it's like
Right.
clearly there was an energetic draw to this is why you're like, no, I feel very connected to this person. Like I really relate and I understand her artistically. And that's eighth house of like, okay, anyway, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And the moon in the fourth house in Leo
Yep.
on her IC, this is like this is home.
Yep.
Fourth house represents where we live, ancestry, mother. Her moon in the fourth house in Leo. She feels at home on the stage.
Oh
She's
yeah.
at home. She goes on stage and I am home. This is home for me. This feels good. She's got Chiron and Gemini. So Chiron is the healer archetype. So she's like, being Gemini rules like making media. So like it's a healing process for her
Mhm.
body to make music. The other thing that's really striking in her chart that I will say is also very rare. It is what we call in astrology a grand trine. A grand trine is three trine. It makes a triangle in the chart. Boom. So it starts here with the Mars in Aquarius here at 27 degrees, which at the time of that last album release was being activated by the Sun and Mercury. And then her Chiron, the healer archetype,
Mhm.
here in Gemini at 19 degrees.
She has an air trine.
Yes, a grand air trine because it's three planets that form a triangle and they only form a triangle when they're in a element sign. So astrology has earth, air, fire, and water. So this is a grand air trine. So where the foot of the trine ends up is here at Pallas Athena, with another asteroid goddess who represents knowledge. She
Yep.
has an owl. She's the high priestess. Like she was in charge of everybody. So here we go. I'm gonna just draw, see, boom,
Yeah. She has a great.
boom, boom, triangle. This means that she has a superpower of storytelling. And what better way to tell stories than through song?
So the other trine is in Libra, right? So is that Libra?
Yes, so that's Libra. So she's got Pallas Athena in Libra, Chiron in Gemini, and Mars in Aquarius. Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are the air sign.
All right. Yeah.
So that's pretty magical.
Yep.
But it does the magic with uh suit does not
All
stop
right.
here.
Do you want to talk about Ursa?
Yes, so let's talk about Ursa, who also has a trine. She has a grand trine too. What are the odds? Very rare. Very, very rare. I don't know if I can really make that very clear. It is rare to have two people working together that both have trines. But that's probably why they were drawn together because they're like, you're magic too, but you're magic in a watery way, and I'm magic in an air way. So Ursa is magic in a watery way because she's got a grand water trine. So her trine is boom, Pluto here in Scorpio, which Pluto is the higher octave ruler of Scorpio. So that planet in the sign
Right.
that it rules is pretty powerful. Then also a past life that Ursa had as a Pisces, which is a solar eclipse that occurred while she was in her mother's womb, right here at 17 degrees Pisces. And then her Mercury in Cancer in the sixth house. So from the second house solar eclipse, which is a past life superpower that she's bringing back to the present, where she was spiritually inclined in the heart and made her decisions around what spirit told her. And then her present mind at 18 degrees Cancer, where it's another 8 and a 1, where she takes action on her nurturing thoughts. She takes action on nurturing thoughts. And that trines up to what she transforms. And this here, this asteroid is one of the Greek muses
Mm.
that is conjunct her Pluto. So poly polythema, poly polythemina. Okay, so I'm gonna have to we'll have to send her that Greek muse, so she'll have to go look her up because there's some definite connection in her travel ninth house there. So there's her grand water trine. Boom. It's also in conjunction to her 22-degree Cancer sun, which is another nurture. Cancer is a sign of the mother, a
Hmm.
nurturer, a caretaker.
Yep.
And a 22-degree means that she belongs nurturing and caretaking on the daily. And how that shows up for her is through her feelings. Oops, here we go. Through her feelings in the 10th house, through her career, through the Sagittarius in her life, because she feels Sarah in her career. So that's interesting that she has Sagittarius moon in the 7th house. So she really feels Sarah
Oh yeah, yeah.
in a spiritual way,
And
like
that's
in
and
a
that's what
career spiritual way.
yeah, and that's what they have they have a moon sun
Yeah.
conjunction in Sagittarius. So
Exactly. So
that's
that's where
a,
the moon sun
that's
synastry comes into play.
yeah, and then that's a very powerful conjunction to have that because they share similar belief system, and that's what makes
Hmm.
that's sharing that they share the same adventure, they share the same love of freedom. Everything Sagittarius, the Sagittarius archetype is freedom, adventure, belief system, the higher mind,
Hmm.
and that's important. When you can communicate with somebody and have that something, and to be able to communicate with somebody and have that is really important, especially in
Yes.
in what they make music together.
Hmm. And my moon, actually, in our charts, my moon is
Yeah.
activates your sun, and your sun activates my moon. That's why we are always vibing.
Yeah, yeah. So you and I are
Hmm.
similar to them because I'm a Sagittarius sun.
Hmm.
You're a Sagittarius moon.
Hmm.
That's so. See, so the belief system is similar. So we both love
Yes.
astrology. Yeah.
Exactly. So
And-
that's an example of what synastry is and like how people are, they vibe off each other and they're able to create. That's so cool. And she also has planets in Leo. We were talking about
Mhm.
Sarah's Leo on her IC, which was the foundation, her home, her roots. Well,
Mhm.
for Ursa, her Leo is in her 7th house. That's commitments and committed partnerships. And she has Venus and Mars conjunct Leo.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
amazing.
And the asteroid Nocturne at Pool
In the seventh house.
there in Leo in the 7th house. And so let's see, where was Transiting Nocturne? Transiting Nocturne at the time of their album release date for her was activating her natal Uranus in the 11th house of community.
Oh, there you go. Group
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Group community. So, like connecting through community. So, you guys connected through community.
Uh,
And then on the album release date, look at where the moon was. The moon was activating her Venus.
yep. And
So, like the feelings were activating her values.
what's interesting about her? She has a stellium in Capricorn in the 12th
Hmm.
house. So that's a very interesting placement because Capricorn is structure
Hmm.
and is in the 12th house with Neptune in there, Uranus and Saturn.
Neptune and Saturn conjunct. See that?
Yep. And the other interesting thing that they have in common, they have Pluto. They have a Pluto and Scorpio, both of them. Isn't that interesting? And
Yeah,
that's
Pluto is a slow moving planet, so if they're close in age, odds are that it's an intergenerational planet. So like, like when we talk about Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, they all have like a certain Pluto signature, like our Pluto in Scorpio and Pluto in Libra. and then was like the Pluto in Libra was the more of a Gen X end, and then the Pluto in Scorpio became the millennials.
Yeah. And she has a 0 degree Aquarius in her rising sign. Her chart ruler is Saturn. That's
Hmm.
a that's a that's a very potent, strong point in the critical degree being 0 degree. Is
And
very
interesting
very
that she has
structured.
Saturn in the 12th house conjunct Neptune. She's probably very psychic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think she did mention that she. But having Aquarius as a rising sign there, she's also very unique, very independent, um, very detached. you know,
Yeah.
um, which is interesting.
Yes, so this is the having a Neptune Saturn conjunction in the 12th house in Capricorn, the structures of music probably just like kind of download into her dream time,
Hmm. Yep.
like subconscious almost. Like it's just like,
Yeah. All right.
and Jupiter in the fifth house in Gemini, jumping Jupiter, having an expansion of joy and fun with
A lot
her
of fun there.
around
That was.
creating
Hmm.
mass broadcasting. So like yeah, putting her work out there is fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All
So
right.
let's go look at their actual band release.
Let me see the official release when they created their project, Sue.
So yeah, we're looking at the time that where these two artists,
When they formed,
Sarah and Ursa, decided to form a band. Yeah.
which is August 1st, 2020, 2016,
Mhm.
they formed the band Sue. So during that time, the sun was in Leo, so of course they were ready to go and perform. Leo is the performer with the sun in Leo. The sun rules Leo, and the moon was in Cancer. The moon actually actually went into Leo, so that was an emotional shift,
Hmm.
or is
It
there
was
desire, there's
probably, they
expression.
didn't give us an exact birth time for the date. They gave us the date. So this was drawn up for 12 p.m.
Yeah, I was just looking at the using the ephemeris. I was picking this
Hmm.
up, and then their Venus was in Leo. So during this day, Venus was in Leo. So the Sun, Moon, Venus, I think, were all in Leo.
Hmm.
Is the performer. It was so appropriate for them.
Neptune and Pisces.
Yep. The North Node was in Virgo, which is rules work.
Neptune conjunct the South Node in Pisces. That's pretty goth.
Yeah, yeah. There
Like
you go.
the
That's
South Node in Pisces and Neptune conjunct. Like the South Node is Dragon's Tail, where the darkness ends. Like with Neptune there, that's like goth music.
yep. Uh, I think the Moon trines Mars in Scorpio, which is being assertive. They're
What else?
doing passion, and their dark passion being Scorpio. Saturn was in Sagittarius at the time, and the Sun was in Leo. They just formed harmoniously,
Fiery Saturn.
which form a harmonious trine. The trine is the elements of fire. They were serious about what they were doing. They were disciplined, and they were really responsible to get this together.
Hmm.
So this aspect, having this, it supports the long-term planning of the band of their project,
Hmm.
the
Strong
pursuit
foundation
goals, and this
and
exactly.
easy foundation. Why? Because they have a grand water trine.
Yeah, this is the aspect I thought was that supported their project to last as long as it is now because of
Hmm.
the Saturn, which is the longevity of the connection. Saturn
Hmm.
keeps it going for a long time, and Sun in Leo is like the performer, the fire performer. And they were
Nice.
serious too. Saturn being a serious, they were stable, serious, disciplined. And look how they've been together now. So this was 2016. Now it's 2025.
Oh, and Jupiter in Virgo,
Yeah,
like
Jupiter and Virgo.
expansion on like the organization.
Right. Yeah. Of work.
Work and boom. And that's
Also,
conjunct the North Node.
yeah. And the
And
moon was,
Mercury there too, and that rules Mercury rules Virgo,
yep.
so that's a strong placement.
So this was a new moon at the time. The new moon, it was a new
Hmm
on August 2nd. This is August 1st, but right after that, it was August 2nd. New moons are new beginnings, opportunities for growth,
Yeah,
creativity, and all kinds of things. So that's,
yeah, that's a magical time to create
yep,
something new when it's a new moon period. That's a time for manifestation.
right, right. Yep, exactly. And Neptune was in Pisces during this time. I mean, Neptune
Hmm
just left Pisces a few days ago. Neptune stays 13 to 14 years in a sign, in a zodiac sign. So for this during this period, um, Neptune entered Pisces on April 4, 2011, and it of course it retrograded briefly into Aquarius and then back into Pisces back on February 3rd, 2012, and so it was still in Pisces. So this is a time to Pisces is the artist, the creative, the
hmm
music, the creativity. Neptune in Pisces. It's completely. This is so appropriate for them to start
hmm
the project.
Yeah, and I noticed too that there is a Moon Pluto opposition in this chart as well. Pluto is the rules transformation, and it was in when it was in Capricorn, it was transforming structures,
Yeah.
musical structures. So like feeling, and sometimes there needs to be like a polarity in order to create. And so this
Mhm.
feelings opposite like the norms or the structures, and it's a retrograde Pluto too. So it's an inward re-engineering of
Yeah.
feelings.
August 1st was this is the birth chart for when the band formed. People are wondering. So August 1st when the band formed. So we're talking about the astrology of that when it first formed, when they first created the project. We don't know what time we did it, but I'm thinking it's might have been at night, but who knows?
Yeah, so this is our closest guess, but so we didn't work with the house placements. We're just working with the constellation.
Yeah.
So this chart here is actually a what we call a multi-composite chart. So
Hmm.
we took the band date, birth date, and Sarah and Ursa's chart, and mathematically, when it's all put together, it makes this chart. Well, what does it mean? The only thing that I'm going to go into here is what the geometry it created. And when we're talking about the geometry, what's cool is that, we were talking about the grand trines that those three charts had.
Hmm.
So, we had a grand air trine, we had a grand water trine, but now we have a different shape. We have a mystic rectangle. So what that looks like is these shapes right here. So it creates a rectangle, which it's two oppositions. So this is when planets are opposite each other in a chart that creates tension, like a pull
Hmm.
or a balancing act between the two energies. So there's a balancing act between this Greek muse right here, conjunct the South Node in Taurus, and Mars in Scorpio.
Hmm.
So Mars is happy in Scorpio because Mars rules Scorpio. And Pluto in Sagittarius, not too far. Pluto is the higher octave ruler of Scorpio, but it's in Sagittarius and it's really in harmony because it's not too far away from Mars. So that's kind of cool too. Neptune has Neptune in Capricorn and an opposition to this past life at the critical degree of between Cancer and Leo.
Yep.
But what it does is it makes this shape. So there's an X and a rectangle. So when we're thinking about, you know, musicians, when you put the visuals together and the math together and it makes this geometry shape, you're like, wow, that's really harmonic. Like they really harmonize together.
Yep.
If you know, you put the charts together and it makes a shape like this, that's pretty magical.
Yep.
Plus, it also like kind of resembles their logo a bit.
Yeah, yeah, their logo. Yep. Yeah, you show their logo quite. Put their. Can you show their
Yes,
logo really fast? Yeah.
yeah. See, it's this right here.
It really, yeah. So that's yeah, interesting. Eh.
Hmm. So the final two charts that I have here is the band creation chart with their first album release. And what I found interesting when I was looking at this was how there were planetary transits, which are in the green
Okay, wait. That's
ring
June 20th,
outside.
right? June 20th.
Yeah, June 20th, 2017. So that was the first album release date for Sue. And this is compared to the birth date of the band, which was August 1st, 2016. So what I found interesting was that here on the trine, there is your Turpy. And you said it, I'm not an expert on pronouncing Greek, but this little Greek god right here
Uh-huh.
is actually activating the Mars, the natal Mars on the tip of the trine. So that's right here. And that's a Greek muse. So a Greek god is activating that. And then the Chiron wasn't too far off from where it was because Chiron's a slower moving body. So it's still here activating this past life,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lunar eclipse. Lunar and solar eclipses indicate past life connections. And then, so Mars, the Chiron, and the moon. That's the grand trine. And the sun here is being activated by Nocturna, Apollo, and Vesta.
Uh, wait, so is this the first album release, or this is this
This
the
is the first album
so
release.
June
So,
20,
like, the
2017?
first album release is this green, the outer rim.
Oh, okay, all right.
And this is activating the natal birth time or birth date of the band. So Apollo, Nocturna, and the asteroid Vesta, which represents the eternal flame of creativity,
Yeah, that's
is
right.
all
Yeah.
on the sun, which is the heart of the band.
Yeah, and on this day, June 20th, 2017, the sun was in Gemini, which is
Yes,
ruled by Mercury. So uh, the
here's
moon
the
was
sun
the
right
moon.
down here,
Yeah,
conjunct Mercury.
yep. And then the moon was in Taurus. Is that the moon? So the moon was in
Yeah,
Taurus.
the moon was in Taurus. Yes.
Okay, so the moon is exalted in Taurus, which is a good placement for the moon. So Taurus rules music, many other things. It was a good placement for both of them to have that moon in Taurus. Venus was also in
Mm-hmm.
Taurus,
Mm-hmm.
but it was in Aries earlier in the day, I think. And then this was Neptune was in Pisces, which is has been during this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Neptune, actually, by this point, was the node had moved off. So see how the south node had moved off into Aquarius, but Neptune was still sitting there, and it actually retrograded. It was like, from our perspective on Earth, it was slower moving. So it
Mhm.
went back to that nodal placement, back to that past life, and it was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And Jupiter is also here on another one of the Greek muses here in Libra, in the air sign of Libra. That's another muse activation here.
Hmm.
And here this is another muse activation. Let's do that green because it's Earth on the North Node. So the asteroids, and look, it's natal nocturna here in Cancer. The Mars, look at the Mars in Cancer activation right down there, right here.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And interestingly, I think their first album was called The Web.
Yeah,
And so the web,
yeah,
the sun is in Gemini, so the web is the internet. Gemini
yes.
rules it's an air sign, so it rules communication. That's the
Hmm.
internet, the web, even though they're referring to spider, but it's also the web, the internet.
Yeah, with Mercury here,
Hmm.
Gemini, conjunct the Sun, the web.
So
Right, the web.
do you want to talk about their past life connection?
Yes. So their past life connection. So this past life of this band. So first of all, this band was called forth into being its own being. And the reason why it was fulfilling a past life witch wound for these two, because when you see nodal conjunctions in the chart, which looks like a planet conjunct the north or the south node, and we have both in the band chart, we have Jupiter and the north node in Virgo, and the south node and Neptune
Hmm.
in Pisces. So generally, we call those past life witch wounds. So there is some. So let's go look at their charts. So first, we'll look at Sarah.
Yeah. So Sarah's what is her south node?
Her south node is in Libra, conjunct Pallas Athena, which is one of the feet of her grand air trine. Means in her past life, she was a super powered high priestess.
Hmm.
And that is also conjunct a fixed star Spica, which also indicates a star seed from the Spica star system. And her future purpose is Aries, North Node, going into the warrior aspect of blazing trails, creating new.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that there's a heavy past life, probably could have been in the justice system,
Uh-huh. Oh, because of Libra.
because of Libra, right? So, like that lunar eclipse down there, where she was a judge in charge of passing judgment on others. And that superpower is pulled forward from that past life into this one. And here, instead of doing that life over like that, instead, she is on the stage
Hmm.
and just displaying her heart in the sixth house, taking action in community, Mars, in through her career, Mars in the 10th house, and healing and feeling that in her body through creating stories, grand air trine. Being committed in the present to teaching, to innovating, and to what signals she gets from the galactic.
Mm-hmm.
And she downloads these structures, these musical structures, Neptune and Capricorn, because of a past life in Aries where the wrong decision was made around what was beautiful. And we'll have to talk to her later to see if any of that resonates.
Yeah.
So let's go look at Ursa.
Ursa.
Her south node is in Leo. And she also has Mars and Venus conjunct in Leo. She's also has a lunar eclipse here conjunct her fate, her vertex, and conjunct a royal star Regulus.
Mm.
So this is a royal past life where she was probably a warrior for the royalty, because that's in the Mars decan here. Regulus is the heart of Leo, the star that is the
Mm.
heart of Leo. It rules, so that indicates a royalty influenced past life as far as being around important people or being the important person. Could be
So her
working in
south
the,
node is Leo?
yes, her south node is Leo,
Okay, yeah. So definitely.
conjunct a fixed
Yeah.
star Regulus, which is the heart of the lion and indicates a tie to some royal past life. Now, that could have been like a tribe where she was in charge
Mm-hmm.
or the hand to the person in charge.
Yep.
But in the Mars decan, that to me indicates as an advisor and a defender of the royalty.
Yep.
And that's in a square to her moon, her feelings in Sagittarius. So there's a pattern here in this life. There's a tension from that past life where the feelings got too fiery and things didn't work out. So we bring these things from our past life forward into our present lives to do over, basically. Like, oh, I didn't like how I did that, so I'm going to do it over differently this life.
Mm-hmm.
And her north node, so the future purpose, also past life superpower she's pulled forward, is in Aquarius in her first house, in her body. And look at these two Greek muses right here with the south node. So she's literally embodying in this lifetime the muses. She also has a grand water trine here, which is the past life, this past life in Pisces that she also pulled forward, which was in more of a spiritual advisor, the spiritual advisor position that she was in. And she pulls that information forward. It activates her natal Mercury, so her mind
Mm-hmm.
is charged with decisions based around the heart and leads to her actions. And her Mercury is actually conjunct the sun, as we can see here. That means that Mercury was basically not visible from Earth's point of view is like in the sun,
Mhm.
like when we can't see Mercury, and it the mind, her mind can get confused with her heart, and her heart can get confused with her mind. But this makes for great material, emotional material
Mm.
to put into to channel into music with this opposition to her Saturn and Neptune in the 12th house. The mind can be in a tug of war to our structures and our dreams. However, that she she illustrates in her life more like a seesaw than a tug of war,
Mm.
because she's able to use that balance to create, because she has, with a grand water trine, that's a natural empathic ability. So she literally is able to feel other people's feelings.
Yeah, I believe that. Wow. Yeah, that's very
So,
interesting.
so yes, just math, just the geometry in their charts, the trines that create the mystic, that when put together create this mystic rectangle. So that's rad.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really good, Michelle. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think I'm gonna ask them what how does that resonate with them? I think it will. I think it does. Okay,
Okay,
you want to start wrapping it up?
yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Because yeah, we
If
probably could have wrapped it. We went too long.
that's okay. All right. No, it's okay. It's very interesting. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Let me see. Maybe just finish up what you're gonna. If there's anything else you want to say about that.
Maybe we don't really need to go into this too much, but what I found interesting with their last album release date, which was a new moon
Mhm.
on February 12th, 2025, as you can see here, this is the band uh, birth date and the transits for the release date for the most recent album, is that we have the North Node and Neptune conjunct Chiron, and the past life here, the lunar eclipse. Saturn activating the solar eclipse. That's a indication of a past life activation right
Mm.
there. The South Node, very close to the Jupiter. That's also like a call to that past life calling. Juno, the asteroid of commitment on the Mars, so it's like committed to action, and Mars on the asteroid Nocturna down here.
Yeah. Well, we I did do that interview, so if people
Yeah,
check out that interview. It's on my. I'll put a link to connect to that. You can check out the music interview. But wow, this is a lot of fun.
yeah, I know. It's just fun.
I know.
Hopefully, it makes a little bit of sense to those who don't know. I do use a lot more aspects and asteroids than your average astrologer, because
No, I love asteroids.
well, it's intricate,
No, asteroids.
like music.
Asteroids would say a lot. They really do. They do say a lot about
Mhm.
person.
Yeah, and it's fun. It like really uh validates the astrology in a weird way, because it's just like you can't make that up.
I know. Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
it's so obvious that they have a connection. For one, the Sun Moon conjunction in Sagittarius is a very prominent one. Especially
Yes.
in Sagittarius, because
Yes.
that's the higher mind, the way you think, and belief system. That's really important to have a belief system, because if you can't agree, then it becomes a problematic. Of course, there's other things in the chart that may not work for them, because But like everybody, nobody has a perfect connection. But they do have a lot in common. They do have a they're fated in that way to form this collaboration. Um, so, but that was very interesting. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for joining me
Yes,
again.
mahalo for having me.
And
Thank
then
you.
stay tuned because we're going to be talking about the birth chart of another van called Pink Turns Blue, and that's coming up.
Yeah.
All right. Can't wait for
All
that
right.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. So, do you have anything coming up for you?
Oh, I just finished up the Kauai Psychic Fair.
Mhm.
So on the beautiful island of Kauai in Hawaii, we do a psychic fair where all of us like intuitive healers and readers do a 2-day festival of seed readings, and that's been really fun. I'm just embarking upon, doing readings, so I'm available for booking at www.queenmabsy.com,
Yeah, I'll put it.
and I'm in partnership with Falco's Emporium.
And then also, I started a zine called Dark Aloha. So this is Michelle's work right here. Do you have a picture of this on your page on your thing, by the way?
Oh, on my computer?
Yeah. So this is it right here. It's a zine, and this is coming out like quarterly. I think we're gonna start another one pretty soon. So this is a little bit about her stuff. But so Cindy, so you created Cindy a while ago, right? And Cindy came back. Is an animation?
Yeah, I used to screen share. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to share this. I was like,
Oh,
oh
that's
yeah,
okay. That's
her.
okay. Well, that's why I'm showing it right here. But I think you have a better.
There it is. So yeah, I created this
All right.
digital, digital painting. I did a few sketches anyway. So yeah, so this is a little mermaid riding a shark, but she's based off of a cartoon character I used to do back in the early zeros, and went right around the time that we met when I was doing cartoons again for the
Yeah.
808 scene zine.
Uh huh.
So the cartoon was called Cindy Is, and then life happened and I'm just doing other stuff. But
But she's
yeah,
back now, right? She's back.
excited to bring her back.
Yep.
She's like, I want to
She's
do
riding the waves
something.
over there.
She's riding the shark. She's coming back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing your creative um, and wisdom in astrology. And thank you so much. It was
Hey, thank
fun.
you, Mahalo, for having me on. This is so much fun.
All right. Thank you. All right.